You guys coming back? I'm here. Coming back. Gosh. কি ওমা তোমার না উপরে না যে ঘরগুলো আছে না উপরে না রুমগুলো তোমার ব্যবহার করেন না রুমগুলা কি হ্যাঁ ওইখান চেয়ারের কায় বইছে কিনা চেয়ার কান কিনা চেয়ার কানত কায় বইছে ইয়া ঘুরা ঘুরি চেয়ার কানত কায় বইছে ও আর তোমাকে গিয়ে ঘর হিসেবে তার মানে ওটা উইশোত্থান হ্যাঁ তারপর আগত this is life and I never want to live a life with fucking sad. I don't say it's all holding you as a whole. Oh. I never be fucking living a fuck browser. Oh, what the purpose is our living? I will blog. I represent my India. That's I'll be perfect in everything. I'll be number one in everything, guys. I'll say that's the fucking guys. We about fucking, bruh. It's a cute things. Chills and looking phenomenal. I see. I would say that's dominate in everything, brothers. Oh fucking muscle, bruh. We're gonna make it. There is nothing special. It's a healthy body. It's always be cute and say that's a normal. If anyone of feel say it's very hard, but all is doing good and perfect. Lifestyle is. Let's enjoy it. Fuck a wall, fuck it, that. I just don't care about anything in my life. Just do everything is that someone tries. Fucking guys. That's how much take time to learn by free anything about this. I said no. I don't fucking. What the fuck is coming in my mind? What in my. Everything is coming, bruh. Everything will become. I work out. This is a lifestyle. I focus on my lifestyle, guys. It's very hard to maintain, but really, I know when I know, but that's when I do into on a fucking videos. That's do nothing. What is the reason of my life to live, brothers? But I want to be a fitness influencer lifetime, but also we do something different. হ্যাঁ চার বেলা করে দুই বেলা ডিম খাই fucking nuts. Fuck. No. First things first, you need to drink a lot of water. Same thing, you need to drink a lot of water. How do you need to drink a lot of water? How do you drink a lot of water? 5 using a more. Fuck you everyone, guys. How do we live in life with fucking positive fucking how it works? It's very hard for us, and but I do it every single time. Cause I will say fuck people, fuck the others, and make that suit that's actually make you happy. And I know it's not actually it's a pace off right now, but holding the success is success. I hold this as long as I live. I promise myself I make myself be better in every single time, every single hours. I never choose any kinds of way the failures. Always choose success. Always choose doing better. Always. fear, I'm gonna choose just like a perfect. Brothers, there is not nothing as long as I leave a hole on my just fucking routines. Cause feel better, goods, and everything. I know it's very hard for anyone's. Fuck, that's the reason I'm not fear anyone. Fuck that. I'll say fuck fear, fuck people, just don't care about anyone. Understand that no one is care about you, no one is just to live for that's I never be want to be this kinds of way. This I never all this is not a life, brothers. This is not a life just living for fear and just care what the other people think and just live this kinds of way. I just never want to believe. Go. Janam na. Fuck them all. I didn't secure anything in my life. Okay, hold this here. I'm number one. Same guys, always losing right. Forget everything. Actually, going through my guns. The benefits I have right now, I need to use it. I know this is very helps. For everyone maintains, everyone this comes over. I know. Next thing you're doing this, that's fuck. That's I have tried right now. I can do goods. I do. That's I know. So reach me the cascade and oration underneath the fools that speak of the lies. Cleopatra, the welcome, though of the unprescribed and received by us, and even see us from the verses has to bear my arm and rouse the serpents of Pharaoh, the words not of mine. I will force thee to eat and not be sent by him, but bring the minds of my soul to Antony and the chances and then sure and then sure I'm the bloody and it speaks Cleopatra already dead, and I feel thee in my veins, and I go with such I will to find my lord, that we shall of the quickly meets. I have of the a habit of the numbance of the chief of creep up through every limb, and now and it's ties it's my head, and my eye also falls, and my dear above is vaniquous in me miss, and where shall I find him? Where's the town me to him? And Anna stands behind her chair, adjusting her head. And after the revolution, the heroes dawn of the subsistence of 1690 and Colomans of 1692, and the laughs of the trumpets 1694. The last was the tragic comedy and a failure. The other two of the harbor were the quite above the average of his place. In addition, at various stages of his career, he collaborated with the Lee in two others tragedies, and attempt with the lamentables of the results to improve upon of the Shakespeare's the Tempest and the Troilus and Cressida. His guidance and versatility of the an apparent of the way he observed that in the prose as well as in the poetry and drama, which is for the very of the great length, but in his issue of the dramatic of the poesy and 1668, it is the numerous directory of the epistles and the preference, and in the scanty stock of the surviving letter you have a prose of the crops of the corpus of the sum of the magnitude. The general subjects of this prose is literally criticism, and that's of the sane and the vigorous quality. The style is free. The style is free, but not too free. There are the sleeves of the grammar, but they are not of the not or not many. The issue of the dramatic and poesy of 1669 in his longest single prose work, and the major feats of his English literary criticism. It is the form of the decision of discussions between the four of the characters, one of the whom to Dryden interested contemporary dramatists, and amongst them are the questions of the rhyme of blank verse in the drama, the comparisons between the French and English drama, and the possibility of the making a judicious compromise and evaluate the work of the Elizabethan dramatists, and especially of the Shakespeare. The following of the passages of the illustrates are not only the directness and the lucidity of his prose style, but is the balanced criticals of the judgment. To begin then with the Shakespeare, he was the man who all the modern and the triumphs and seed and poets. He had the largest and the most of the comprehensive soul, all the image of the nature and still present to him, and the draw them not the and give him greater and commendations. He was generally learned in each of the spectacles of the book of the read of nature, and he looks inwards and found her there. And I cannot say he is everywhere like where he is, so I should do him a injury to compare him with the greatest of mankind. He did many times flowers, inspires his comic with the dignitying into the clanches, is serious of swallowing into the bombast, but he is a waves of the great wind. Some of the great of the occasion is presented him, and no man is can say ever of the beat and feet of the subjects for his wit, and who did not stand the rise of himself as high above the rest of the poets. Quantum on the influence of the southern inner of the Verona of the conspiracy. The restoration of comedy. I'm not sure what I want to see now. That's what the fuck I need to be the right and resistance and resilience to catch the sharper moods of the current weed, and fortunately his weakness of his so unknown to the activities of the brilliant group of the dramatists who made of the restoration comedy of things ever in the English literature. The new of the comedy was a slower of the growth than the heroic of the play. Some of the years after 1616, and comedy was restricted to revival of the pre of the Commonwealth's place, but the descendant of the chronicles before the closing of the theaters in 1642. In particular, it was in debate of the Bournemouth and Fletcher, and it took the Ben Jonson. Fuck off. Like the heroic play, however, the comedy was strongly influenced by the continental writers and especially by the Moliere and the French of the culture. It reflected its closely the desolate and court life of the periods and between that and the court life and the French, whereas the community of the speed, which is the late naturally to an interest in the French in the comedy. Mylor of the provided English of the dramatists with the ideas for plots and with an example of the fine of the comic characterization. Spanish drama served a strengthen that's love of the intrigue and incidents already from established in the English comedy. But here it is important to state that the foreign influences while important were not of the predominant factors in the evolution of the restoration comedy. They blended with the traditions already strongly established and assisted the natural process of change of demanded by the changing temper of the age, but they were transformed into something essentially of the English of the contemporary. Thus the comedy of the Moliere was changed into a harder, more of the loosely of the later of the Elizabethan to the poetic romances are supplanted by a polish and intellectual control, which is a replaced the emotion by wit and poetry by a clear, concise prose, which is adds of much of the point and gives a fine of the precision to the dialogues of this new style. The passage of the Congreve given below in a good specimen. The perverting tone is one of the cynicism, and the place shows a close and often of the satiricals of the observation of the life and manners, and which is because the work of the Ben Jonson. Plots and subplots are the indicates and number of the often takes the form of the growth of the sensuality and the hands of the best of the most of the rich tales of the dramatists and retardes of the Congreve. The immorality still of the remain, but it is the product of the much of the grossness and the offensiveness, and by the fact of that is essentially intellectual ori and a free form of the crowder and the realism, which is aware much of Richard's work. The lack of the passions and the emotion of this place gives them of the polished crystal hardness, which saves them from the old form of the licentiousness and the immorality. The restoration drama was the object of the fires of the fratricidical attacks. Most of the notorious of this, which was a short view of the immorality and the performance, the profaneness of the English state. 1698 of the Jeremy Collier and 1615 to 1726, though his work of the notable only for his workful tone, its stupidity or the dramatic criticism is provoked of the many of the rephrase from the offending of the dramatists. But beyond this is its objection seems to have been added no fakes and the characters in restoration comedies are the lastly the types whose depositions are the sufficiently indicated by study of their names, and we have the self-poplings which are Scarp, a Sarben and Cornell Bowley and Sir John Brood and Square Sulan and Gibbets, a highwayman, Lady Bountiful. They have this of many of the qualities of the Johnsonian of the characters with this predominance of the Homer of C-Fish 109, but by the last part of the periods there is above of the something distinct from the comedy of the Homer's, the comedy of the manners of difficult of define. It is the employee of the patrols of life and so much as a great gentle and sophisticated of the billion quality. That's what the Kirikas calls grace or habits of refined culture. William Congreve 1670 to 1729. Congreve was born at the Barstay and near the Leeds of a good family, and was educated in the Ireland. Finally, the Trinity College Dublin in 1691. He came to the London to enter the Middle Temple, but Aaron Towns lay for the literature. He wrote all of his physical before he was 30, and when he decided the drama of the Spain of the rest of his life as a very popular society gentleman, largely and supported by the generous government pension. His first comedy was The Oath of the Bachelor 1693, and this was followed by The Trouble Tina 1693 and Love for Love 1695 and The Way of the Wolves on 1779. Okay, this is one tragedy. The Morning of the Bride in 1697 was and The Pain of the Later and Elizabethan tragedians. Congreve is undoubtedly the greatest of the Restoration comedy of the writers is his work. The comedy of the minors is changed the perfection is placed on the faithful of the reflection of the upper class life of this day, but there is undoubted of the immorality. Immorality is served from being the objectionable by the artificial with a heart finished and a total lack of the realism in the artificial society, which is defeats of moral judgments and would be out of place. The tone is one of the cynical. Of the BBC, the characters are all drawn at the concrete prose are solicits of the concise of the pointed and shown as excellent year of this year for the rhythm and the cadence. In all things, is the police artist. Those whose is the distinctive of the quality in billions. All concrete plays expect the way of the world's had an immediate of the success. And it is ironical that this is the one should be the sign out of the posterity. Pastorius is a masterpiece free from the occasion of the sentimental touches, which is more of the double thriller. It is the best example of the comedy of the comics accounts of the following faces in which is the two gentlemen are backbeating and acquaintance. It is the topical of the spiceman of the concrete prose. And Penholz he comes to Otran in order to equip himself for troubles. The Mirables for troubles. Why the man of that side means is about 40 and finals no matters for that ties for the honors of England that whoever should give should know here the blockades of the all ages. Mirables I honor there is not an act of the parliament to save the credit of the nation. The prohibit the explorations of pools. The fine all by no means it's better as it is better to trade with the little loss than to the quality and up with the bring of the our overstood the Mirables pray for the follies of the night of the errand and those of the square is brother and anything related find all or not at all the which owns and grows by the nights like a Meldar grafted on a crab and one will bails in your mouth and two others are said to your tree without ever being removed all and the other comedy of the writers. William Wycherley 1640 and 1715 the productive of the periods of the Wycherley's life was a very but the faithful he produces. Okay, William Wycherley 1649 and 1715 and he was a productive of the period of the Wycherley's life and was very far of the fruitful of he produced your place in 5 years love in the wood and 1671 the gentleman dancing master 1672 the country wife 1674 the plain dealer 1676 he was a man of the good of family and he was he was at the court and well seems to have been in no better than the Cambridge career of this time and his contemporaries all say call of the place is mainly by this he was probably referred to the posteriors of the intensity and that's rates of the rares and through is the comedy style which is nearly the every person is a fool and every clever man is a rob and a rake and he's the much of the courser in the cane of the Congreve and cannot keep his work at such of the high level and yet he shows much of the handling of the dialogues and was a sharp told the distorted and vision for human weakness. George Ether Day 1635 and 51. Not much is known of the regarding of the life of interest, but the appearance appears to have been of the courtier and have the sub-effort of the diplomatic service. These three of the plays are the comical of the events of the Love in a True of 1664, the Shoes Uda She Could and 1668, the Man of the Moor and Sir Apolline Flower 1678. They are the important in depth of the establishment of the comedy of the manners, which was the later to the perfected by the Congreve. They find it the paint a true of the picture of the graceful, heartless and licentious of the upper classes of the period. The force of dialogue is natural and brilliant and it lacks an arty and grace and conceals some of the defensive of the plots or construction and said John's Vanbrugh. Remember carriers told us much of and of its it is obscure since we have been afraid one for a different times. He was a soldier, a herald, and an architect. His best year of the comedies are the roles of the 1996, the Florida of the wife, 1697, and the and Confederacy 675. Panberg plays like an art of the elegance of the country, but they are the full of the energy and general humor. He was a fond, he is a fond of phrase and good at the caricature and his plots of it daring and soundly contrasted George Farquhar. 1678 and 1777. He had an adventurous career and was in a town of the clergyman, an actor and a soldier, and died when he was 29 years old. The purpose of his early death is giving him a fame of its own. He wrote his 7. Route 7, okay, that's the Route 7. Place the best of which is the last two and Vista, recording the officers 76 and the birds of the Shades Gam and 77, the Farquhar of the council led along the restoration dramatics and by his time and the chronicles of immortality of the edge of the seems to have an own theme and the East Chamber of the suddenly and more genial and is weak. So it was left with more of the decorous and the redecorating of the officer and the place which is followed the Farquhars are added of the something so new and the restoration comedy in taking its material from with than the polite upper class depicted by the Congreve, and his characters are more like ordinary people. His dialogue lacks of the polish and sustained sweet of the Congreve and is nearer and level of the normal conversation in his rapidly of the developing the humanity and his growing of respect for the moral standards and Farquhar and looks of the forwards to the drum of the steel of the succeeding age of the Thomas Shadow 1614 and to the littlest learn and Shadow live in he was a bit of the remembered child and an account of the real portrait বাড়িতে মিল্লা দিছো
কোন দিন মানে এখন তোমলা ভালো
দুই টাকা যা ঘুরে যা তোমার ডিম সিদ্ধ দিছিস তাহলে বলবে
মানে শুধু আলু
হয়ে যাবে
হ্যাঁ
হয়ে যাবে
বেনি বিষয়ে সময় এই সময় দেখে নিব
পরে আজ খালি করিস আজ ঘুমাই
জানে
আজ শিখে দিলেও তুই ভুলে যাবো
হ্যাঁ
আজ শিখে দিলেও তুই ভুলে যাবো And it is the Lord of the Shadow Live, and he was a bit of the remembered child and a count of the judges watches so he he was reserved eventually at the harbor. In his own rise, he held the popular stage of the 20 years of the roads in many places. The best of which is over the slogan of the lovers and 1668, the speed, the square of the Alcestions and 1688, the burial of the fair, 1689. The shadows stood up outside the developments of the comedy of the manners and immediate of the course. And even of the close junction comedy of the Homers, his plays are generally coarse, but on occasion he shows wit and his style of the legs of the literary grace. But his plots are usually well constructed and oiled and show a fertile invention. He reflects more of the accurately than anyone else. The everyday life of his time, and he was have been in of the satirical sense that his frequently deserted the level of his artificial intellectual works of the concrete and like the visually and true of the concept, the core sense of the passions of the Egyptian and his later face shows the growing fondness of this force. First, the look of the forward sentimental drama. The restoration drama in his periods, the tragic drama is represented by the heroic play, which is already been restoration company been mentioned, and during the first 20 years of the restoration, the rhyme of the heroic play of the regains of the supreme. This form also introduced by the Sir William Debenhams and popularized by Dryden, who states thus an heroic play of the out to be the imitations on a little on a heroic poem and constantly. Thus love and bother and ought to be the subjects of it and impossibly and idealistic and love in complete proclaimed honor. Led to exaggerate emotion and to stall of the characters who were the psychological the unconvincing and declaim of the passage of the bombastic and rhetoric all of the possible location, the form of the old of the master of the contemporary interest in the French stages, the French stage in the work of the Corneille and the Racine and the French of the prose of the Romance of the which is the many of the plots were taken. Even more important was the influence of the romantic drama of the Weymouth and Fletcher, while the tradition of the violent deeds, the last scene of the work of the Webster master, the master and the folks and where the prefectures in sense of the blood and crime, the stage setting were the lavish and the extreme, and from about 1618 and onwards, we see the almost of the complete replacement of the rhyme by the blank verse, but the heroic narrative remains so. The later of the period scenes of the increasingly frequent introduction of the pathetic no, which is seen of the strongest in our way. It is also the periods of the numerous adaptations from the Elizabethan dramatists and especially from the Elizabeth texts were far the most of the narrations of this demonstrates person of the King Lear, in which is the non-made of the provides the play of the happy of the ending, and though the restoration periods was less of breach and tragedy than in comedy, than a few of the tragedian are who deserve very venture. Thomas Wardaway and 1685 as we also saw up in the case of the dramatists of the time, and already had a very troubled career close to the miserable day that is fast pay. Alcibiades was produced in 1675 also. Followed John Carlos 1676, the Orpheum 1618 as the masterpiece of Denis the Presidio, and 1682 the order that began his career in his topical lyric saying of the as John Carlos of the fairest specimen of the type to its sentiments and the language, it's the lace of the exaggerated and then of usual is the reputation zest of the harbor and the two place and the orphans, which is the allowing for the fierce is lacking of the lyric all the way a strong of the note of the deep of the pathos, which is the cynicizing feature, while the play was a calmness of the tone of the absence of the rain of the unusual to the unusual in the day, its day and the events of the precious preserve. The finest work of this tragedy is on the grandeur and skill than its orphans, and the characters are the skillfully handled, especially those of the Juffer and the Pure, and the players wrought and some were first on the reveals a considerable skill in the working out of the dramatic situation, one's authority on the all these changers. Bring back this entertainment, guys. This is same. There's nothing special. I'll say, not the song.